against the war in Vietnam, and you were too. I had a medical deferment right from the get-go, and that was lucky because I didn't understand the war, and I didn't want to die in some rice paddy for something I didn't understand. But you actually went through the process, and then tell people, you know, about the number of service guys that didn't like it either, but they were just caught up in the bureaucracy.
You know, I signed up because I wanted to do something for my country, you know, and I volunteered for Vietnam back when only the Special Forces. So I volunteered for Special Forces. It was kind of an interesting thing. I went to I went all through basic, and I signed up for OCS, and I didn't get OCS, and I was upset about it. I was upset about it, and I was told, I went in and kind of pounded on the sergeant's desk. I said, you know, I've never failed a test, man. I've never failed a test. I want to know why I didn't get OCS. So they said, oh, you didn't fail a test. You scored so high on the test, they won't let you be an officer. I said, what do you mean? Are you only hired dumb officers? No. Someone of your IQ will question orders. And a week later, I was in line to go to the hospital with spinal meningitis after getting a vaccination. Went to the OCS, vaccination came next, and spinal meningitis. I woke up in a tub of ice after passing out in the doctor's office. So I didn't go to Vietnam. And when I got out, I started publishing underground magazines, dealing in the paraphernalia industry, fighting the insane laws in Texas on pot.
Well, I remember that because I think technically you could get 99 years in Texas because, you know, I grew up in Houston. 99 years for smoking marijuana and having the wrong politics.
That's right. That's right. They could absolutely do that. And Stanley, still, I mean, today it's a little bit better. We've made some progress over the last 40 years. You know, we used to get high and sit around in Dallas watching the reefer madness and laughing our ass off. You know, what propaganda. You know, can you believe people actually believe this shit 40 years
Well, you know,
ago?
folks, for those of you who don't know this, I was following something the other day, and I found out that Pat Robertson of the 700 Club has now come out saying that the laws against possession of marijuana are too harsh and we need to look at it. Boy, I tell you, it takes a long time for people to start looking at this issue with some balance.
You know, I wrote a novel 40 years ago when I was in prison in Texas for marijuana. Yeah, you know, you can get 99 years for this, but we can get you 7. I can get you 7. I can cut a deal. I can get promoted to you know, president of the Bar Association in Dallas if I get you this deal.
Yeah, you know, Clayton, I think that this is incredible. I want to back up a little bit.
Oh, by the way, let me just mention. Let me mention one thing. The novel that I wrote 40 years ago that is being updated now. It's up on my website. It's called Meet Lucifer, and it's a story, ultimately, a story about the future in which there are no laws against victimless crimes. We don't have a police state. We don't have a disposable society. We're not throwing we're not having wars where we're sending our sons overseas to fight somebody else's battle to steal to protect the opium poppies. Yeah. My God. Yeah.
You know, Clayton.
The drug war was a war on the American people, just like the war on terror is a war against anyone, anywhere in the world that doesn't want to go along with one world government. My opinion.
Well, here's what I wanted to say is, you know, a lot of people may not be aware of when you said OCS, that's Officer Candidate School.
Yes, sir.
And what's interesting is they said you were too smart, that you wouldn't obey orders because of your IQ. Now, what does that say about our military?
I would question orders. It's our military. You're programmed to go out there and kill. They taught me to kill, but I haven't killed anybody. You know, I mean, it don't. I put a few people through plate glass windows, but I don't think that counts.
No. But you know, it's interesting. Before we get into your essay about critical thinkers and the people that have been framed because they've stood up to these insane laws, I was talking to a guy at a local pool here in Coeur d'Alene, and a young guy in good shape, probably around 20 years old, going to the local community college, North Idaho College. And he's saying, you know, my brother's in the Air Force, but I don't want to go in the Air Force. I want to go in the Seabees, and I want to go into combat. And I was trying to tell this young guy, I said, why don't you go in the Coast Guard? Because then you would be stopping the cocaine that's coming into the country. And he says, no. He says, I've already made up my mind. And, you know, Clayton, this is a travesty when we've got an open border south of you, and we need people to protect our own sovereignty, and we got a guy that wants to go off into Asia and fight these insane wars for interests that are not in his best interests.
You know, Stan, one of the reasons that so much heat is on me right now, I'm probably one of the most demonized talk show hosts, publishers out there, writers too. This last year I did a book called Mystery Babylon, the New World Order Unveiled. And one of the segments in there is this. It's almost like an autobiography because it's got the whole history of how I got into this when I learned as a biker, publishing a biker magazine. I got a document that I have in this book, in Mystery Babylon. It's the statement of Colonel Edward P. Catolo. I traced it, I checked it out, I followed it up. I talked to the person named in the document that whose wife was killed, and he was framed for her murder and put in Walpole prison for life. And his name was William Tyree. And he's still,
now you said Walpole prison. That's up in Massachusetts,
yes,
isn't
sir.
it?
Yes, sir. It is.
Yeah.
He's still a prisoner up there. Colonel Catolo was murdered over in England for putting this document out, and it's all in this book. As soon as this book came out, suddenly I couldn't even walk into a biker bar without somebody trying to pick a fight with me. They've just listed me in the NAACP as a bigot, even after I had 3 black men on my show. So where is this coming from? Where is all this hostility towards me when all I'm trying to do is live up to my oath to defend the Constitution? And I've walked into the FBI office in Albuquerque, introduced myself. Yeah, we know who you are, Clay. And walked out. I was talking to him about last year, and this is all in the story that's on my website on Dangerous Men. I put out a call for investors. I got in over $1 million in investments and donations, all in hot forged checks. FBI says they closed down 5 bank accounts. They didn't make any money off me, but they did close down 5 bank accounts. So I don't think it was the scammers over in Nigeria that the FBI can't go after because we have no extradition treaty with Nigeria.
You know, this whole thing to me brings to mind the fact that as you point out in your essay, the most dangerous men in America, every person that they perceive as a threat, even if it's of the smallest manner, if someone has no power at all other than writing an essay, if they say something in that essay which challenges the power of society and looks too good, looks too mainstream, they'll jump all over it. You know, this thing about you know, people picking fights with you in biker bars. Well, you know what happens when the heat comes down. You went through this with your marriages. You went through this with your sons. All of the stress that you had to go through by speaking out, and then all of a sudden everybody's nervous being around you. I've been through the same thing.
Yeah, I don't, you know, I can't really blame my wife and sons. They saw me, you know, hooked up to breathing tubes for 3 months. They thought I was dead. They thought I was gone. They didn't. They really couldn't understand it when 3 days after they took me off the drugs, I was up and walking and talking. You know, you kept me unconscious for 3 months for 3 broken ribs. Oh yeah, you had a broken collarbone too, Clayton.
Well, you know, in your essay, Clayton, you talk about the fact that you had been on your phone talking to one of your sons, and you told him the route you were going to take. And then all of a sudden you get T-boned by this woman who takes off after the accident.
No, actually, she stuck around. She was in a borrowed car. She had no insurance. And as far as I know, she never went to jail. My sons couldn't find her later. And I had, you know, remember specifically the conversation. Where are you, Dad? Oh, I'm at Sacred Skin Tattoo Parlor, north side of Phoenix. Oh, go down 24th Street to McDowell, turn left, go to the wheel shop. I got T-boned 2 blocks before McDowell. And if that's not enough, keeping me unconscious for 3 months, after I regain consciousness, 2 guys show up. Hi, Clay, you been hallucinating? We're CIA. You can thank us for that. Yeah, what are you doing in this country? What are you doing screwing with me? We don't like you publishing that motorcycle magazine.
You know, something that you brought up, because I think it's very important, because you've had all kinds of people on your program. I remember before I went on your show, I heard a Jewish guy call up and was talking about the conspiracies that have been going on in this country, both Jewish and Christian, in terms of playing one group off against another.
That's right.
And then I noticed too, when I was earlier today and I was looking through your essay, The Most Dangerous Men in America, that you had been in contact with Aaron Zellman of the Jews for Preservation of Firearms Ownership.
I was in contact with Aaron Russo. I was in touch with Aaron Zellman, you know, and matter of fact, Larry Pratt from Gun Owners of America is going to be on my show tomorrow, and he and I were both demonized by the ADL through this other little group, and ended up being on the NAACP website. That's the latest attacks on us. Well, that and the whole Gabriel Giffords thing, ABC News was calling me within the hour after it occurred, wanting to know if I knew the shooter. No, he's a part of her synagogue, man. I don't know him. We found out later, you know.
Oh my God, what a ridiculous thing. You know, something that you and not discounting that tragedy, I mean, but you know, Clayton, I was shot in the face when I was a cab driver and called a white boy. So I'm no stranger to being the victim of violence. And most of the people, I mean, I don't care who it was, Jewish or Christian, that were shot at that site, it was appalling. But there were more Christians that went down and were killed than Jewish people. But why is it just a Jewish issue?
They tried to make it that way, and you know what? I don't care what religion you are. In my heart, I don't care what religion you are. You know, you want to stick your nose in the sand, your ass up in the air, bow to Mecca, man, knock yourself out. Just don't expect me to get down on my knees with you. And the same thing's true for the Jews and for the Christians. You know, the Catholic Church is just as guilty of mass genocide as the Jews, as the Zionists are, and they will sacrifice their own people. You know, I think we're really talking about a satanic, I'm not going to say Luciferian because that's the name of a hero of my new book, but we do have a satanic evil presence, and you know, the Bible told us about 2,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago.
Let me jump in with something which really struck me in your essay also that connects up with what you're talking, Clayton. You say we can be leaders of men in the Christian tradition without the control of a church. Now I immediately zoned in on that because I just don't like going in churches anymore because they're all 501c3 government accredited churches, and I don't believe their sermons because it doesn't relate to me. They
can't tell you the truth, and here's why. Let me explain why. In my in my opinion. If you're omniscient and omnipotent, what are you? Well, oh, you're God. You're God. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. So, but if you're the only one, there's only one God, then you got to be the most bored entity in the universe. So what do? You create man, woman. You put a spark of your divinity in them when they're born. You give them basically amnesia, but they got a direct connection with the Creator. We call it the soul. And then he sits back and watches behind our eyes and see we got free will. And so this is a gift. This is a gift, but it's also a curse. So we've got the choice to be good or evil. That's why I say Jesus was the first one that told you, not this church, not the this isn't church. Get these money changers out of this. This isn't what this is about. This isn't what it's supposed to be about. Because we've all got a direct connection with God, and Jesus told us, you can do what I do and more. I think they promoted him at the Council of Nicaea. I think that was 225 A.D. I think they promoted Jesus to God because they didn't want us to aspire to be the kind of man he was, and that's part of the religious control on what we do, Stan. Huh? That's just, and now, you know, hey, religion's big time on TV, so they don't call it programming for nothing, folks. When I walk outside, that's when I'm in church, to me, Stan. Are you still there? Did I lose you? I've lost Stan here somewhere. Hello, Mike. Are we, what's happened here?